Hey guys, what's up? It's Spartacus here, back for another Blackrock Mountain card preview. Two cards were shown in the past couple days that will be released with the Blackrock Mountain Adventure, and I'm gonna go over them, kind of tell you what I think they'll be, how I think they'll be in the game, and what I think about the cards. So, the first one is Lava Shock. It is a 2-mana Shaman spell, rare, that reads deal 2 damage, unlock your overloaded mana crystals. So Ben Bros explained that that means not only does that mean mana crystals that were overloaded this turn or that are overloaded this turn, but also next turn as well. So there's a lot of value that can be gained from this card. So this card is really interesting. So I'm gonna dive. It's gonna be a long talk about this one. Basically, we have to figure out how much mana damage is worth. So 2 mana deal 2 damage isn't that's not on par with value. You see Frostbolt, that's 2 mana deal 3 damage and freeze, and then Dark Bomb deal or 2 mana deal 3 damage. That's why I meant 2 mana 3 damage is usually on par for 2 mana. Even Lightning Bolt, a card that Shaman already has, is 1 mana overload 1 and deal 3 damage. So that's basically the standard is 2 mana deal 3 damage. But obviously this has the massive upside. So looking at other cards, there are no 1 mana deal 2 damage cards right now. There are cards like Frost Shock in Shaman, which is 1 mana deal 1 damage and freeze something. So I would say that to deal 2 damage for one, I would say we can safely assume that 1 mana is deal 2 damage. I think that's a safe assumption in most cases. Usually, the like 1 mana spells have in classes do something a little unique, that are kind of comboed or insignificant. So I'm gonna go with 1 mana equals 2 damage based on everything I've looked at. So basically, this costs 1 more mana, and the value you get from it is you unlock your overloaded mana crystals. So we can say that if you unlock 1 mana crystal, then you basically spent 1 mana and you've dealt 2 damage, so that's fair value. If you unlock 2 mana crystals, then you're getting value out of the card. If you unlock 3, etc., and so on. So this card has a high upside if you can, if you play Feral Spirits, and then the next turn you're supposed to be, it's Feral Spirits turn 3, and then the next turn you're supposed to be overloaded for 2. Instead, you just Lava Shock something, you get the 2 damage off, and you also get 2 extra mana you free it up, which is nice. I think, though, that in order for this card to be played, it has to be unlocking 3 mana crystals consistently. I think that that is unfair enough for constructed play. I think in constructed, it needs to be the best of the best, and just unlocking 2 mana crystals doesn't seem like enough, especially if you don't even want to deal 2 damage. So let's just say you do that Feral Spirit play I just talked about, and then, they just armor up, let's say you're against a warrior, then you won't even need to deal the 2 damage. So, it's kind of like necessity, like, do I need to deal this 2 damage because I need to deal the 2 damage, or because I want to free up overloaded crystals? And if you only need to free up 2 overloaded crystals, then what would be the point of just throwing away this card? It's also a card. You have to think about it like that. It's a card in your deck, and it's another low mana damage card, which Shaman have a lot of. They have Crackle, they have Lightning Bolt, they have this, they have Rockbiter. They have a lot of cards that are low mana and that deal damage. So, is there even going to be space for this? My assumption is that this card would be put in a deck with a lot of overload in it. So people are not talking about Crusher Shaman, like can we bring back Earth Elementals and stuff like that, and because this card, Earth Elemental's overload for 3, so this card would automatically get value with Earth Elemental. Even Neptulon overloads for 3, so there are a lot of big overload cards in Shaman, and if you can like combo them all in one turn and then play this and free up everything, it can get a ton of value. I think that this card is really a wait and see card for Constructed. In Arena, I don't think it's very good, because while you do have some overload cards in Arena, you don't have enough to really get the value out of this. Unless you have like a ton of overload and you take this late, I don't think it's going to be that good of an arena card. And I think in terms of constructed, it's going to be a wait and see. We're definitely going to see people play around with this card. And maybe it is very good because Shaman right now really needs good cards. And while 2 cards are coming out for each class in the expansion, this is the rare one, so we'll see what the neutral one does. But I love this card though. Just in saying that it frees up, it gives a lot of potential for new ideas to come forth. People are going to be experimenting a lot with it. I love cards like this that really bring out deck innovation. So that is Lava Shock. The second card that was shown is the warrior card Axe Flinger. It is a 4-mana 2/5 uncommon minion that reads, whenever this minion takes damage, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So this card is again in that line of dealing damage to your own minions that Blizzard has been pushing for warrior. So right now there's only one type of warrior deck. It's the control warrior. It's very powerful, but there's no other type of warrior deck, and we're seeing a lot of other classes get multiple types of decks. So they're really pushing this type of deck. So things like Frothing Berserker, things that enrage when they get hit, that's what they're really pushing with this type of warrior deck. And there are a lot of cards, warrior class cards specifically, that synergize with this, but for some reason it's just not quite viable and constructed yet, or no one's quite found the perfect build. It's kind of one of those decks that when everything goes perfect, you completely blow out your opponent, but when things don't go perfect, you just lose really badly. So, it's kind of like, it's like a win more deck, I feel, and it's just not consistent enough. But they've brought this card. They've also added a card I talked about last time called the Grim Patron here. And the Grim Patron is a neutral card, but it's basically meant to be played with Warrior whenever this minion survives damage, summon another Grim Patron. So if you were to have like both of these out, obviously you can't do this all in the same turn, but if you were to have both of these out, and then you were to Bouncing Blades, for example, like you could do a lot of damage to face and get a bunch of Grim Patrons and just have this crazy kind of combo going. And it seems like, I'm not sure if it'll be viable. I mean, these are the only 2 cards introduced to that, new cards introduced to that. We'll see if it turns out to be viable. But Bouncing Blades seems like a card that could be really good with these. And even things like Matter Bomber and stuff like that. So I'm not sure if just 2 cards will push it over the edge, but I think the deck will definitely materialize. And also there is one more warrior card coming. So this I guess the Axe Flinger would kind of be like a finisher because it deals 2 damage to the enemy hero. So if you can damage it 1 point at a time, it can theoretically do 10 damage to the hero. So that plus Bouncing Blades on an empty board is 10 damage. It's a 2-card Pyroblast for 7 mana, which is kind of interesting. I think that it's a really cool card. It opens up new deck possibilities, and I really think that the Grim Patron might be part of that as well. I'm really excited to play around with these cards, see what happens, because I think that Warrior does need a new type of deck, because every time you queue against a Warrior, you know exactly what you're going against. There's no mystery there, and it's fun for each class to get multiple types of decks. So this is my analysis. Oh, and for Arena, this card's probably very poor. There's just not like a good way to combo it. And in Arena, you're less concerned about doing face damage, and you're more concerned about controlling the board. And the stats are worse than Vanilla for a 4-drop. So, we'll see. I'm really excited to see what the other Warrior card is, and the other cards, and how they synergize with this kind of stuff. Really excited for the rest of Blackrock Mountain to come out. What about you guys? Do you agree, disagree? What are your thoughts on these cards? I'm going to continue to do the previews as the cards come out. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.